Have you ever felt that the world around you moves like a tide, pulling everyone in the same direction, urging you to think, act, and even dream in predetermined ways? Perhaps you've sensed that the opinions you hold, your choices, and even the values you cherish may not be entirely your own. This is not a paranoid fantasy. The reality of the herd is a social force that shapes our identities and limits our potential. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most provocative philosophers in history, issued a warning more than a century ago. He saw the herd not simply as a group of people, but as a mindset, a condition of conformity that weakens the individual and flattens the richness of life. To Nietzsche, breaking free from the herd was not merely an act of rebellion. It was an act of creation. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that every decision you've made up to this point, your career, your friendships, your tastes, even your beliefs, has been quietly influenced by an invisible crowd. You scroll through social media and see the same opinions repeated, the same outrage shared, the same jokes recycled. You begin to wonder, what part of this is truly mine? Nietzsche believed that this questioning was the first step towards self-overcoming. The herd thrives on unthinking agreement. However, an individual who begins to question, who dares to doubt, and who resists the pressure to blend and becomes dangerous to the herd because he or she becomes truly alive. The herd is not evil in the dramatic sense. It is comfortable, it is safe, and it promises belonging. But Nietzsche saw this comfort as a trap. When we allow ourselves to be carried by the collective, we stop striving. We stop imagining. We stop becoming. The herd values sameness because sameness is predictable, and predictable is easy to control. In contrast, Nietzsche called for the cultivation of the higher type of person, someone who is willing to stand apart and craft their own values, even at the cost of misunderstanding or isolation. To think for yourself, he argued, is not a matter of simply rejecting popular opinions. It is a matter of forging a new inner compass that cannot be bought or borrowed. Thinking for yourself begins with honesty. Not the shallow honesty of blurting out what you think in a moment, but a deep honesty with your own motivations. Why do you believe what you believe? Who benefits from you thinking this way? What fears keep you from questioning? Nietzsche urged people to look into the abyss of their own assumptions. This can be terrifying because when you strip away the inherited values, the slogans, and the ready-made identities, you are left with a blank space. That blank space is freedom, but it is also responsibility. Freedom without responsibility collapses back into the herd. Responsibility transforms freedom into a creative power. Nietzsche's famous concept of the Übermensch is often misunderstood as a call for domination over others. In truth, it is a call for mastery over oneself. The Übermensch is not a tyrant, but an artist of life. He or she takes the raw material of existence, desires, instincts, ideas, and shapes them into something unique and affirmative. This is the opposite of the herd mentality, which suppresses the individual to maintain collective stability. When you begin to think for yourself, you become the sculptor rather than the sculpture. But how does one begin this process in a world louder and more connected than Nietzsche could have imagined? Start by noticing where you're most reactive. Do you change your views when a crowd mocks them? Do you soften your voice when your opinion differs from the majority? Do you find yourself agreeing with statements you haven't actually considered deeply? These are signs that the herd is speaking through you. Nietzsche would advise you to pause, withdraw for a moment, and cultivate solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the space where your own voice can emerge from the noise. Without moments of solitude, your inner compass never develops. You simply echo the compass of the crowd. Thinking for yourself also requires courage. The courage to be misunderstood. The courage to face criticism. The courage to risk being wrong. Nietzsche himself was ridiculed and ignored in his lifetime, But his ideas endured because they were not borrowed from the herd. They were hammered out in the forge of his own struggle. Courage is not about shouting louder than everyone else. It is about standing quietly and firmly in the truth you have discovered, even when that truth isolates you. Another essential aspect of Nietzsche's vision is the idea of becoming who you are. This sounds simple, but it is radical. Most people become what others expect them to be. They live out scripts written by culture, family, or trend. To become who you are means to discover your unique constellation of strengths, desires, and values, and to live from that center rather than for borrowed ideals. This process is never finished. It is not a destination, but a continual act of creation. In Nietzsche's words, one must give style to one's character. Just as an artist refines a work of art, you refine yourself, discarding what is false, keeping what is vital, and daring to add what is new. Yet there is a tension here. We are social beings. We need connection, collaboration, and love. Nietzsche did not deny this. He warned, however, that true connection can only happen between individuals who are not afraid to stand alone. Otherwise, relationships become a mutual agreement to stay asleep. When two independent spirits meet, their bond is not based on conformity, but on shared strength. This kind of connection elevates rather than diminishes. In today's world, the herd has new tools. Algorithms amplify outrage. Trends spread faster than thought. Echo chambers make it seem as though everyone agrees with the same narrative. Breaking free now requires not only mental courage, but also digital discipline. Ask yourself before sharing, before liking, before reacting, is this truly my perspective, or am I acting out the script of the crowd? This simple pause can begin to break the chain of automatic conformity. The path Nietzsche outlines is not easy. It is a path of self-confrontation, of solitude, of risk. But it is also a path of vitality, creativity, and joy. When you stop being afraid of the herd's judgment, a new kind of freedom opens. You begin to experience life not as a checklist of expectations, but as a canvas of possibilities. You discover that thinking for yourself is not an act of arrogance, but an act of authenticity. And authenticity, in Nietzsche's view, is the seed from which greatness grows. The question then is not merely how to escape the herd, but how to build a life once you have stepped outside it. Nietzsche did not envision a lonely exile. He envisioned a richer, fuller existence in which you become a creator of values rather than a consumer of them. When you no longer measure yourself by what others applaud or condemn, you discover an inner compass that points toward what is genuinely meaningful. This inner compass does not appear overnight. It develops through struggle, experimentation, and reflection. You will try on ideas and discard them. You will follow paths and find they lead nowhere. But each time you act from your own insight rather than from borrowed consensus, you strengthen the muscle of independence. Many people fear that leaving the herd means losing all structure, that without external approval, life will feel empty. Nietzsche saw the opposite. He believed that life becomes empty precisely when you stop creating and merely obey. Structure imposed from outside may keep you safe, but it also keeps you small. Structure built from within, crafted from your deepest convictions, expands you. It allows you to inhabit your life as an artist inhabits a canvas. You're no longer a spectator, but a participant in the drama of existence. Thinking for yourself does not mean rejecting everything the majority believes. It means not believing it just because the majority does. Sometimes the herd is right, often it is not. The key is discernment. Nietzsche compared the strong spirit to a sieve, filtering what is nourishing from what is toxic. When you take in ideas, you test them, you digest them, you make them your own, or you discard them. This process may look slow from the outside, but it creates a foundation that cannot be shaken by trends or crises. Another practical aspect of Nietzsche's advice is learning to embrace conflict rather than avoiding it. The herd seeks peace through uniformity, but real growth often happens in friction. When you encounter opposing ideas, do not simply retreat to the safety of agreement. Engage, question, wrestle with them. Conflict clarifies your own thinking. It reveals where your convictions are weak and where they are strong. Nietzsche's own writing is full of sharp provocations because he wanted to jolt readers out of passive acceptance. He wanted to awaken in them a fighting spirit, not against others, but against their own inertia. At the heart of Nietzsche's vision is the concept of amor fati, the love of fate. This is not a passive acceptance of whatever happens. It is an active embrace of your life as it is, including its difficulties, disappointments, and pain. The herd seeks to avoid pain by conforming, by smoothing out the rough edges of existence. The free spirit accepts pain as part of the creative process of becoming. When you love your fate, you stop wishing for a different life and start shaping the life you have. This gives you a resilience the herd can never match. Nietzsche also emphasized the importance of great teachers and exemplars. Thinking for yourself does not mean isolating yourself from influence. It means choosing your influences consciously. Seek out minds that challenge you, not ones that simply mirror your current beliefs. Read authors who disturb you. Engage with people whose perspectives are alien to your own. These encounters act as a whetstone, sharpening your intellect and expanding your horizon. In this way, you build a personal pantheon of thinkers and creators who inspire you without enslaving you. When you begin to live in this manner, something shifts. Decisions feel less like obligations and more like expressions of your character. Work becomes not just a way to earn, but a way to manifest your values. Relationships become not just a refuge, but a stage for mutual growth. You stop asking, "What will they think?" and start asking, "What is true to me?" This shift does not make life easier in the conventional sense. It makes life more vivid. Colors seem brighter because they are your colors. Victories taste sweeter because they are your victories. The herd will still exist around you. It will whisper that you're selfish, arrogant, or strange. But Nietzsche would remind you that the herd's disapproval is often a sign that you are on the right track. Conformity praises what is average. Creativity threatens what is average. If you're living in a way that unsettles the complacent, you are probably living authentically. This is not a license to be reckless or cruel. It is a reminder that authenticity rarely looks like obedience. In the end, Nietzsche's challenge is an invitation. It is an invitation to wake up from the dream of collective life and step into the adventure of individual existence. It is an invitation to become an experimenter with your own soul. It is an invitation to risk failure, to taste real freedom. The herd promises safety, but gives boredom. The path of self-thinking offers uncertainty, but gives life. Now pause and reflect. In what areas of your life do you feel the pressure of the herd most strongly? What do you notice yourself acting out scripts you didn't write? What values have you inherited without examination? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your reflections might spark someone else's awakening and help build a community of independent minds. Remember that thinking for yourself is not a single heroic act, but a daily practice. Each time you question an assumption, each time you pause before reacting, each time you choose according to your inner compass rather than external applause, you are strengthening the muscles of freedom. Over time, these muscles become your natural posture. You stand upright in a world that prefers you bent. You become an individual in the truest sense of the word, indivisible. This is the spirit Nietzsche wanted to ignite, a spirit that does not wait for permission to live fully, a spirit that creates, that dares, that affirms. If you take only one thing from his writings, let it be this: you do not have to be what the herd wants you to be. You can become who you are, and in becoming who you are, You not only liberate yourself, but also permit others to do the same. So as you go forward, ask yourself, will you drift with the crowd, or will you begin the work of self-creation? Will you let algorithms and trends write your story, or will you pick up the pen? The choice is yours. If this message resonated with you, if it sparked a question or a challenge in your own thinking, leave a comment below. Share where you're ready to break free from the herd. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so that together we can continue exploring these ideas and building a community of minds committed to freedom, creativity, and depth.